Now move to item 6.
That's what it is.
I would ask for a motion the commission reconvene to
Regular session.
Hit me. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll now move to regular agenda item number 7A, which is to hear a presentation from Christy Terra with Encore on LED street light program and discuss, consider, and act upon LED street lighting solutions in Sweetwater.
Good
morning.
morning, Mayor, Commissioners, staff. Thank y'all for having me today. I wanted to come and talk to you about Encore's new LED streetlight options. We've had several cities.
Do you want me to forward along?
You know what,
for you?
it might be good if I do.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know, sometimes I get a little lost.
Me too.
Notes keep me on track. So we've had several cities ask us about wanting to install LED streetlights. LED streetlights are more energy efficient, they last longer, and so there's some benefits to LED streetlights. So effective November 27th, we added the streetlight option in our new tariff that was approved by the Public Utility Commission in November. In that streetlight options, now you will have the option to install LEDs, or you will have the option to install sodium vapor. The other two options, which were metal halide and mercury vapor, are no longer going to be available for new install.
Are the sodium vapor, is that the ones that are kind of brownish colored?
Amber, we call them amber colored lights. So yes, the sodium vapors will be amber colored and the LEDs will be a white light. They're going to be 4,000 Kelvin. So if you can see in the picture up there, I think this street's probably in the Metroplex somewhere, not out here, because we don't put that many street lights up out here. But if you can see how white that light looks, and your amber color is what you have out there mostly now. So it'll be a difference. You'll be able to tell it. I'm going to stay on my notes so I don't get off track, because y'all could stand up here and talk to you about streetlights all day. The new tariff approved by the Public Utility Commission no longer provides for metal halide or mercury vapor, so you'll only have the two options. And cities will have the options to install fixtures through Serve New, which means you want to install a new streetlight somewhere where one does not exist. The maintenance replacement, which is as a street light fails, what do you want us to put in now? Do you want us to put in an LED, or do you want us to put in a sodium vapor? Or proactive conversions. Proactive conversions are going to be the most expensive. The proactive is going to be if you decided that you wanted to replace all of the lights around the square. We would have to come in and look at the lights and see what vintage year they are, when were they installed, and you would have to pay the remaining useful life of that light out. But for maintenance options, which is really what I want to talk to y'all about today, as the fixture fails, that doesn't mean the lamp, the bulb itself, or the photo sensor. As the fixture fails, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to replace it with a LED, or do you want us to replace it with a sodium vapor? So-
One question.
Uh-huh.
Usually in the fall, right around September, the lights we have now are notorious for attracting crickets. Are either one of these replacements less attractive to crickets?
I don't know. You know, I can
Are we going to
ask.
continue to have the problem, or is that something we got to deal with?
I'm not sure. You know, crickets are attracted to light, and so I'm not sure if they're attracted to LED or not, but I'm going to get David that answer. I think that will be a good question for me to ask our streetlight maintenance group. So I'll find out, and I will get it to David, and he can get it back to you. Okay? So I gave David the tariff, the new tariff. I'm not sure if y'all have it in your packets, but in the tariff, it goes over the cost of the fixtures. Now, Encore does not directly bill the city. So this has become a very complicated adventure, I guess we should say. But we've been working with Caitlin Blowdish, and she has given, she's given the city some cost. And do you have those, David?
I believe Patty.
Okay, so she's given the city some cost. The savings that you're gonna see is actually from the energy savings amount. The cost for the fixtures themselves is higher for the LEDs. The LEDs, when you replace the street light, you have to replace the entire fixture. An LED is solid state. And so you can't just go in and put an LED bulb in there. You have to replace the whole fixture. And so the cost that I've given you, I'm going to flip over to this chart. The city pays a certain amount per kilowatt hour. And this is going to be an estimate. It is not all inclusive. When I was working with Caitlin, I found out that there are several other charges that are on your bill besides just Encore has a maintenance charge, and then you'll have your retail electric provider has the energy charge, and any other passable, bypassable, pass-through charges that they have to attach to the bill. So for 5 cents a kilowatt hour, if you replaced 100 watt high pressure sodium, today you're paying $12.62, and if you put in an LED Cobra head, you would pay $12.62 a month. There would be no change. If you go down and look at the different costs, Cobra heads are the least expensive because that's the one that's most used by most utilities. If you go down, you look at the rectangular, you see that this is a monthly amount, and that you would pay a significantly higher amount per light per month if you changed out rectangulars. And rectangulars, the city of Sweetwater has quite a few rectangular lights. So on your LED maintenance agreement, you can change to replace, you can select to replace all, which means that as a light fails, you will replace it, you want it replaced with an LED. You could choose to just replace Cobra heads, which means as a Cobra head fails, we would just replace Cobra heads with LED, and the other types of lights we would replace with high pressure sodium as they failed. But we need you to make a decision on what you want to do. And I think that when you make that decision, you probably should talk about new install as well, because the new install lights, if you're going to start putting LEDs all over the city, if you go ahead and install a new light, you're probably going to want to install a LED. So that's something y'all would need to think about. In your packets, we enclose 5 cents, 6 cents, and 7 cents. I think that y'all are paying a little less actually than 5 cents. So you'll have to look back on that 5 and see that the less you're paying on your energy charge, you may have a higher amount. So where it's 0, if you're paying 4 cents, you may actually go in where you're paying more per month for that light than what you are now. So for Serve New, you need to decide if you want to install LEDs and give your city manager some guidance, because as he calls us and asks us to put in new street lights in different places, we need to know what you want installed. But that you can choose that at the time you install the new light, because we're going to ask him every time we install a new light. You'll only have the process of high pressure sodium or LED. You won't have any other options. And the only other white light you'll have now you have mercury vapor. Yes, mercury vapor. You will only have LED. So you'll either have sodium vapor or LED. So if you want a white light, it's going to be LED. Metal halides and mercury vapor are both closed. So for proactive conversions, that means that you want to replace the lights all out. We'll have to do a cost, and we would come up with that cost based on which lights you decide you want to proactively change out. So you would have to let us know where you want to change those out, and we would come up with a cost for you. And there's only limited availability. We're only doing 10,000 a year because we thought that we would have a lot of cities that were requesting it, and due to supply and manpower, we decided we didn't have enough manpower to change out more than 10,000 lights a year. And so, do y'all have any questions? I will get back with you on the crickets. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Christie, I'm sorry, while you're here, at what point, I know you and I had talked about timeframes for decisions and those kinds of things. Remind us again what you guys are looking for as far as when a decision needs to be made.
On April 1st, we started doing the maintenance agreement. So on April 1st is when we started installing our first LED lights. You can do nothing. You can choose to do nothing, and what we will do is we'll replace them with sodium vapor. So going forward, we're going to continue replacing with sodium vapor until you let us know what you want to do. So there's no hard deadline on it. April 1st was the day that we started, so.
Okay,
Okay?
very good. Thank you.
What do you think as far as, do you think we need to do LEDs whenever they're in place, or?
In my opinion, as we transition towards, we should think about transitioning towards the LEDs. I think generally they're more efficient, give a brighter light and covers more square footage. I think that helps with visibility. I think it helps as a safety issue for our motorists here in town and those coming through town. I'd like us to consider going that route, the LED route at some point. Maybe as they come up for replacement, that's what we do. And instead of a more expensive, more proactive approach of, hey, look, come in and just do them all. Maybe as they come up, we start replacing with the LEDs as a first measure. Mm-hmm.
How often are lights replaced?
So the lights that we have now are supposed to last 15 years. You know, that time changes based on where they're at, how much dust they get, how many times they get shot out, that sort of thing. So right now, they're supposed to last 15 years, but system-wide, I asked that same question, and system-wide, we're replacing about 30% of our lights every year.
I'd like for us to get a cost on what it would cost to do, especially right down the main part of town as far as replacing all of them as a starting point.
Okay.
We can certainly get you a cost for around the square or around down a main street or.
Well, yeah, around the courthouse and the bank, I guess, the post office and that part.
Okay.
And any entryways into downtown that y'all would like to consider proactively?
Well, I certainly think as we've got to replace bulbs, we need to transition to LED, and
Sure.
I would be interested in the cost on our major thoroughfares in downtown.
Okay.
See if we want to proactively approach those. And
Okay.
if it's going to be too expensive, then we can just
Sure.
back off and do it on a replacement basis.
Certainly, because you'll be able to tell a difference when you install an LED next to a sodium vapor. So you'll definitely be able to tell, and until they all burned out, it would be you would have that difference. So.
That is, unless we find that they attract more crickets, then we don't.
Then forget it.
If
Or
they attract-
rattlesnakes.
If they attract more crickets, I don't want one at 30 now.
Okay. Okay.
Christie, I'll work with you on that approach.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very
good.
much.
Thank you.
You wanna put that in the form of a
Does
motion?
that need to be in a motion? It is. It is
I
in
think-
motion, so moved.
Giving direction.
What's your motion?
The motion is that we will replace existing streetlights with LEDs as they need replacement, and then we will look at the cost of the main thoroughfares, Lamar, East and West Broadway, and then the downtown area.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Lamar, East and West Broadway, and the downtown area. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now move to item 7B, which is second final reading to discuss, consider, and act upon approval amending Chapter 19 entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic shall be amended by amending Section 19-106 entitled Trucks Prohibited on Designated Streets. Any questions?
Also move.
Second.
I'll second. Do we have any comments from staff?
I'll just go ahead and let you know. We had one business owner that contacted City Hall regarding this particular ordinance about deliveries to his business. However, I was able to sit down and visit with him, and once we explained what we're doing and how it would not affect him, he's fine with it, so we've addressed that issue, and that was Mr. Henson at Henson Flooring. And so he's good with that. We've worked out a deal how for him to rearrange his deliveries with his flooring materials, and so that issue has been resolved. And there's been no other feedback, positive or negative. Thank you.
Okay. Then we need a public hearing on this, so can we have a motion to go into public hearing before we can vote on it?
Oh, okay. I move we go into a public hearing.
And I will second that.
Okay. Anything from the public? Okay. Close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Okay, now we got a motion by Commissioner May and a second by Commissioner Peak. All in favor?
Aye.
Now read the ordinance into the record. Be ordained by the City Commission of the City of Sweetwater, Texas, Chapter 19 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sweetwater entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic shall be amended by amending Section 19-103 entitled Trucks Prohibited on Designated Streets. We'll now move to item 7C, which is to consider and act upon approval of the quarterly investment report for the quarter ending March 31st, 2018. Commissioner, have any questions of Patty Torres?
I move we approve the investment report.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now move to item 7D, which is discuss, consider, and act upon approval of a resolution for a grant application entitled Criminal Investigation Victim Assistance Project 2019 to purchase 3 unmarked civilian model Ford Explorers. Chief Frida.
Once again, we are seeking grant funding for additional vehicles into the fleet. These would be unmarked Ford Explorers with third row seating. We have attempted to go under the victim assistance part of the grant process. However, last year they said that the vehicles that we were looking to go for were not acceptable or allowed through the process. They were wanting us to buy these huge Ford passenger vans. And this year, since we're a governmental entity, we're not able to apply at all. It's for non-profs for the first round. So we're waiting to see if, with what they get returned, there's a possibility that they may come back under victim assistance later in the year. However, I'm not going to hold my breath on that. They've told us that for the last 3 years. So what we're doing is we're going under the regular grant process for law enforcement. These will be for CID. They'll be for transporting our victims to and from CAC interviews, the Child Advocacy Center interviews. Many times we're having to transport for CPS. At one time, in one situation, we were required to carry, I think, 5 children at one time. And in some of our vehicles, we can't fit them in. And it's hard to put them in the marked units as well, behind the cages and everything else. So having the third row seating allows for comfort and able to put the child seats in there for those children that are still required to be in the seats. But we're able to still respond to crime scenes and process crime scenes and transport evidence to and from the labs and whatnot. So that's why we're seeking this grant. And then it's a non-matching grant. The only equipment that we would have to pay for would be lighting. We already own the radios.
Is this the criminal justice at the COGS?
Yes, sir.
Chief, if they're unmarked, and like that, do you need the lights and sirens on them?
We still do, because when we're responding to different crime scenes, we still have to have the emergency equipment to respond to those scenes. Typically, our unmarked units are not allowed by policy to engage in pursuits. That's what the marked units are for. We can be a backup unit, we can roll in back of the pursuit, but best case scenario, we're not the lead unit. We try to avoid that at all cost.
So it's unmarked, it's not meant to be
It's not meant to be a true crime prevention measure, as a
Okay.
marked unit is meant to.
okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Motion to apply for the grant.
Make the motion, we apply for the grant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The City of Sweetwater approves submission of a grant application for the Equipment Replacement Enhancement Project to the Office of the Governor Criminal Justice Division. We'll now move to item 7E, which is discuss, consider, and act upon authorizing staff to go out for bid on AC-10 and grade 4 crushed rock to be used in the 2018 street coat ceiling project. Any questions for Mr. Jones?
I move we go out for bid on the material, and I really hope we do the project. I don't like falling behind on our
I
seal
agree.
coating projects. I'd hate for us to be in a situation like Abilene, trying to come up with the citizen tax to repair streets. That's absurd.
$300 million worth, I think, something like that.
It's a lot of absurdity. I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now move to item 7F, which is discuss, consider, and act upon designating the official municipal flag for the City of Sweetwater, Texas.
All right, we get the drum roll ready. I think this is the moment we've been all waiting for a while. We've come to the moment where we've gone through, we've kind of jumped through the hoops. We brought in folks from various organizations and small businesses throughout the community to help us be part of this process and pick the finalists that you'll see before you here today. I think the citizen committee did a great job vetting down the 40 entries that we got as part of this contest into a final four is what we're calling them. A very manageable, very talented group of designs that were entered into this contest that we're going to discuss here today. And really what I'm thinking is we can go through the four. There's a narrative or a description of behind that the designers submitted, telling us what each of the designs mean, the stars, the designs on the flag, the colors and what they represent and what they mean to the designers. This flag was ranked number 1 by the committee. This is flag number 11, and I just kind of want to stress that I think staff did a good job of keeping these entries anonymous. They came in to Lisa, and she put them on a spreadsheet, and she's the only one that saw them, and at this point knows who all of the finalists are. So we've been just referring to them as by flag number. This is flag number 11, and you'll see it there, before you up on the screen. And this is what it means to the designer. And if you'll allow me, Mayor, I'll just go ahead and read that out to everybody. The horizontal bar at the bottom half of the flag is a representation of the general beginning of Sweetwater's prosperity when the tracks of the Texas and Pacific Railway reached Sweetwater in 1881. The single star at the top of the flag represents the idea of the popular sovereignty. When put into words, it means that the local government is government by the will of the people of Sweetwater. The star shows as well that the people of Sweetwater are united as one and are undivided when confronting the issues that face the city. The curved line beneath the singular star represented the snake, of course, which annually generates revenue and prosperity for the city of Sweetwater since the founding of the Rattlesnake Roundup in 1958. And Grant, if you would, you got that board right with you. Can you put that kind of in the center of the table so we can all see the four of them at the same time, please? And again, we're referring to the one on the left. As a whole, the people of the city of Sweetwater have treasured the tradition of the rattlesnake roundup, and many consider a part of their cultural identity, which clearly shows in the design of the flag. The white field of the flag represents the universal symbol of purity. When defined, purity means the freedom from contamination and immorality. These key attributes will be the common characteristics of the average person of Sweetwater, who will call to mind these characteristics when gazing upon the pure field of white, and in turn will serve the city of Sweetwater with their individual morals and ideals. Again, here's another look on the screen at flag number 11, which was the committee's #1 ranked design. The committee's #2 ranked design is flag number 2. And there you see it up on the screen. The proud star represents the power of Sweetwater's people living in unity. It stands proudly on the blue field as a guardian of the Texan pride and as a guarantee of the prosperous tomorrow. The white color of the star is for the bright future and prosperity. The blue is for the lakes and water of Sweetwater. The narrow stripes are for the railroads, which are the core around which the city developed. The yellow color is for the generous soil of Sweetwater and for its wealth of resources. The red color is for the courageous and warm-hearted people of the wind power capital of Texas. Again, that's committee's ranking #2, flag number 2 as well. Committee ranked design #3, flag number 29. There's a good look at it there. The red stylized S represents several things. The lazy curvature of the S represents a coiled rattlesnake. The loop at the bottom part of the S represents the present and ubiquitous turbines. The finishing move of the S is pointing to the future, building Sweetwater into a star. The blue line underscores the line into the future by reminding us of our past, symbolizing the original Blue Goose Post Office, the forerunner to Sweetwater. The red bar on the left represents the power of the heart of the people of Sweetwater. Another look at that. You see the red bar. It kind of bleeds into the background on the slide, but it's there, that red bar on the left. And the last flag, committee rank #4, flag #1. That was the first submission. There it is. The 3 colors of the flag demonstrate a patriotic theme, being the same colors as the United States flag. They are also symbolic of Sweetwater once being named an all-American city. The red color at the bottom is symbolic of our city's foundation, the West Texas soil. The white color in the center is symbolic of a blank slate on which we will write Sweetwater's future. The blue color at the top is symbolic of our open West Texas skies. The central blue stripe is symbolic of Sweetwater Creek, from which the city gets its name. And there's 4 again. So, good luck, gentlemen. There's your 4 finalists, and at this point, you can choose the flag that was ranked #1 by the committee. You can deviate from that. It's really up to you. I will say that if there's any modifications that you desire on your choice, or really any of the flags, we're open to do that. We'd contact the designer and have him or her modify any of those designs as you see fit. It's in the paperwork that they signed and agreed to. These are property of the city of Sweetwater, and we hold. We can go back and ask them to modify or change in any way according to your preferences before we come back with a final design. And what will happen today, if one of these 4 is chosen as the city's official flag, we'll need to get with the designer, talk about any modifications you'd like them to make, if any. We'll need to take it to a graphic designer. We need to pick the exact shade of red. Red number 52 is what they'll call it. The exact shade of white or blue or yellow or whatever color that may be, depending on the flag, and get with a graphic designer and have them mock that up. And then once we do that, have staff will put that in the form of a resolution that will come back with a detailed description of the flag with those colors, and we'll get the commission to bless that, and then file it away with the Secretary of State, Texas Secretary of State's office. They'll need to know about that so that nobody tries to infringe on any of this in the future. We'll take it to staff, and Russell reached out to some companies that do custom flag work, and we'll get that mocked up and made up into flags that we can fly up at our buildings or maybe make available for purchase to the community. If anybody wants to do that, we can put them on hats and t-shirts and whatever it is that we want to do, use it as a marketing tool. But it will now and forever become the official municipal flag of the city of Sweetwater. So that's kind of where we are at that point in the road ahead. So if you all have any questions, we're happy to answer them. Lisa, like I said, received the submissions, and she's glad to answer any of those questions as well. And Russell was on the committee, or sat on that committee, so if you have any questions about that process, he's able to answer those also.
I just kinda think instead of us solely making the choice, what if we put it out on the city's website, or said, send an email, or some way to,
Well, we pretty well had a committee of, how many, nine?
There were
Yeah.
Nine on
members
that
from the
committee that got it to this point. I think we go with what the committee's recommendations are, as far as I'm concerned. Number one,
well, I guess I'd still like for the citizens as a whole, just maybe have a choice of these four to vote.
Are you talking about maybe thinking about having the final say?
Yeah, or just with these final four, either. Yeah, I don't know how you fix it with just, with an email, so somebody doesn't rack up a bunch of anonymous votes, where it would be.
we pretty well had it in the instructions that it was gonna be done this way. didn't we?
Somewhat. Our
Well,
hesitation.
that wouldn't have to, well, I guess that wouldn't have to be the final, but I guess I'd kinda like to know what the citizens as a whole think of the four flags.
Our hesitation on we did talk about it at the staff level. Our hesitation on that was it could turn into a popularity contest where you've got the designers getting their friends and family, and they've just got more friends and family and more contacts that they can rack up those votes easier than someone else. It could turn into a little bit of that, kind of more of a political thing, who you know, versus just kind of the submission itself speaking for itself. We're glad to look into that if that's a consensus of the commission. But we did have, keep in mind, we did have that citizen committee that y'all chose to vet the 40, and then they did come up with these four. So in a sense, that process has been undertaken, but I understand, Mr. May, what you, just a little bit more. I did put it out on social media and asked for some responses. Didn't get a whole lot of them.
Or put it in the paper and let people cut it out and mail it with their name. Again, I guess I was just curious what the general public thought.
Sure.
And I understand the political concern, but I have no idea who did any of these.
Good, because that was our goal. I'm glad about that. That's a good thing. And I think if you open it up, you'll get the designers naturally probably going out there and saying, "Hey,
This is mine.
log on, it's mine,"
Yeah.
and you get more of that going on than just based solely on the design itself. But like I said, if that's a consensus of the group, we'll certainly find a way to make that happen and maybe bring it back probably next month. I think we could do that. If y'all want to do that or another way, it's up to y'all at this point.
I
We're
feel
glad to
like
do
if we
whatever.
do that, it negates the whole process of the committee. I served on that
Yeah.
committee, and I feel like some of those people that were on that committee would feel, what's the point?
Yeah.
Because that was expressed to by one of them anyway. I like this flag. It was the number one choice. The only thing I would, after a week now, I'd like to see that curved line be blue to give a little variety to the flag, because it is awfully red and white. But, and I can speak to any of the others too, if you have questions about why they weren't chosen. There were some considerations with regard to what else is going to happen with this flag, and if it's gonna become like an icon on a T-shirt, some of the things that are in those flags, especially the third one, would not, be used very well as on a shirt. It wouldn't come out like it really ought to, I guess, if you did things like that with it. Anyway, that's, Russell may have some other thoughts with, because he was there as well.
I think like Commissioner Lee's saying, that was pointed out at the meeting on that flag there, that probably would be much of a design headache, if you were gonna put that on, you know, shirts, caps, or whatever. I think if I could allow my opinion, if you open it up to the public, you're probably gonna expose yourself for the, anonymous issue.
Yeah. And one thing that was brought up too, think of this, what you're looking at, if you put it on a 1.5 inch by 1 inch rectangle, that's what it's gonna look like on flagpole. So, and we tried to pick the most representative one, that would give a good appearance at that distance.
One recommendation also, if I may, is on the number 1 pick, we did say that we would like to see that star centered a little bit further down in the flag instead of at the top. So that was just one of the recommendations that the committee had talked about, sort of agreed on.
But I'm okay with it all being red if the commission goes, wants it to all be red, fine. Works for me.
Well, to me, it's a little confusing. If I saw that flag and never seen it before, I wouldn't have a clue what it was. You know, is there any way to put the name Sweetwater on it?
Well,
You know,
that breaks one of
maybe
the
in the
rules.
red,
That breaks one of the rules of making the,
well, maybe I don't like
City.
that rule. Because again, any of those flags that I see, I think the second one looks like a South American country flag, but I have no idea if I saw that without knowing, I have no idea what they mean. I wouldn't know it was Sweetwater. Somebody from Abilene or some other town seeing that flag, they're not gonna know that's Sweetwater. I just think there ought to be something that says Sweetwater.
Well, I think the way that guy showed that in that video, if you put it on a, 1.5 by 1.5 or something like that, you wouldn't be able to see that Sweetwater anyway. I mean, that's, in that video, that's what he was showing, was the fact that you know, the flag flying from the pole, you wouldn't see the Sweetwater anyways if it was on a 1.5 by 1.5 inch flag.
and again, from the same perspective, we wouldn't know what the red, white, and blue, or the stars and the bars of the Texas flag meant without someone having told us in the 2nd grade or 3rd grade. You know, I mean, it's gonna be a publicity thing. We're gonna have to publicly say, this represents this, 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 and this, in order for people to understand what the flag means.
Let's vote.
Okay.
Okay. We got a motion of any kind?
Well, I don't know, we need a motion.
Start
Do we
that.
need a motion?
Are we gonna vote or what?
I think,
Vote for which one?
well, I think you vote and
Okay.
then have a motion to,
Okay. Larry, which one do you vote for?
none of them.
None. Okay. Mr. Lee?
The one that's showing, flag number 11.
Ricky?
Number 2.
Which one? Oh, the second one? Okay.
Abstain.
And I'm gonna vote for number 11. So, where does that get us?
11 it is?
It's a tie.
11 it is.
11 it is.
Okay, the first one? Okay. Okay, now,
I move we adopt flag number 11 as our municipal flag with a centering
the star.
of elements at the top of the flag.
Okay. I got a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
We'll work with the designer to make those modifications and start getting the graphic designers involved and, excuse me, come up with a mock-up for your consideration. You'll have to make another final approval of this design once we've modified it as instructed. So we'll bring that back as soon as we can. We'll look at the May meeting to come back with that.
Center manager's report.
All right, sir. Appreciate that. Let's see here. Let me get to it. I'll start with the SNAP update. In fact, Chief, let's bring you up here. I know you wanted to mention something real quick.
Thank you. Things have been a little bit hectic, and I was unable to secure the resolution from the governor. But this week is Telecommunicator Appreciation Week, the National Communicator Week. And I would just like to ask that if you happen to come across a member of staff that is a telecommunicator or helps cover that you remember to, thank them. This week we have one of our staff members that's in Galveston is in fact receiving a national award as I think Trainer of the Year, as a matter of fact, and that's Carla Hebert. She eats, sleeps, and breathes 911. She goes out and teaches. She helps with 911 addressing. So I would just want to take an opportunity to share that with you, that this is National Telecommunicator Appreciation Week. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chief.
If you can get the proclamation between now and the end of the week, I'd be more than happy to come over and present it to them.
Will do so. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chief. The SNAP update, I got word from Tanya about last night's Taste of Sweetwater, and had about 300 through the door, and they were able to raise about $3,300. It's a little bit lower than in previous years, but still a pretty good turnout for that event. What I wanted to kind of introduce at this point to the mayor and the commissioners and the community and the media here today is a proposed dog park. Well, now we'll be bringing back a more concrete proposal at some point in the near future, perhaps during the May meeting. But Russell and his team have been working on a proposed dog park site as a quality of life measure, and really would be the first type of projects that we're looking to do underneath the new 10-year master plan. And you'll see that it's located, I guess, just south of the high school baseball field, adjacent to the soccer fields. You see that on the right side of the screen. You'll see the sheriff's posse just in that left-hand top corner, and really in the vicinity of the Coliseum area. We know that there's a lot of folks that come in for the rodeos and for their other events. A lot of times those folks are bringing in their dogs. Right now they're letting them run loose through the park and those kinds of things. So to have a dedicated dog park in the area where those folks and for really the enjoyment of the community members of Sweetwater primarily, to give them a place to have their dogs roam free instead of being just in their backyard or chained to a tree or something, which we do see a lot of, or just roaming around the neighborhoods. I mean, Chief Freed will tell you that's an issue in Sweetwater for sure. To have them go to a place where they can run a little bit of energy out of them, would be a good thing for the community. We're looking at a type of facility like this, where you have a 1 acre park that's on the south side for larger dogs, and about a half an acre park on the north side there for the smaller pets. Looking at irrigating it, there is water running down Pecan Street, I believe, that we could tap into. Looking to put up some trees and vegetation, and the fencing is really the big cost to this. So we're looking at finalizing costs, and the way I've seen this approach successfully in the past is more of a public-private partnership. If the city picks up all the costs, and we could find some way to do that, but to get buy-in from the community, other groups out there with an interest in these types of facilities for our community, private businesses that may want to buy a bench and dedicate it to themselves as an advertising or marketing thing, or a family that in memory of Fido, we're gonna plant a tree, or we're gonna put up a bench, and here's a donation for that. The way I've seen it work in the past successfully is somewhat along those lines, where you do have a lot of private or nonprofit skin in the game, as well as some public partnership. And what we're looking to do really, as apart from designing this and costing it out and those types of things, is looking at our crews to put the fencing up, our water crews to run the water lines, and parks crews to plant the trees and keep everything mowed, to a good height and all those kinds of things. So from a city perspective, I'd like to see us with those in-kind contributions, and really would like to see the private sector come through on the majority of the other things, the hard materials, the fencing, the park benches, those kinds of things. So this is just a concept at this point. We've taken it out of the Parks Master Plan and kind of ran with it as a potential first project to come off of that plan. I know the community does they don't want us to put our plans on the shelf and have them collect dust. They want us working on those things and making them a reality for them. So this is one that we felt might be a popular type thing that we could bring in and kind of fold the private sector into, hopefully pretty easily. People are pretty emotional about their pets and their animals, and usually in a good positive way. And they don't want to see their dogs out in the backyards. They want to see them kind of run free, and this will provide that avenue for them to do so. Probably in May is what we're looking at, is bringing more of a formal proposal to the commission to grant authority to proceed with the project. We need to get some buy-in from the private sector. I've never felt right about having city staff go out with passing the hat around trying to solicit donations. In my mind, that's just not right. So if we could get somebody from the private sector that might be willing to do that on the city's or the community's behalf, I think that's probably a better type of setup. And then maybe start raising funds toward that effort. And at some point, if we get enough interest, we can think about making this a reality. And if there's just not a lot of interest out in the community for this, then we'll move on to the next plan. So Mayor, at this point, unless there's any questions about this, that's all I have.
I would just go ahead and respond to the question that will occur is, well, wait a minute, we're going to spend taxpayer dollars to build a park for dogs, and that's not the case. You don't build a bike path for bicycles, you build a bike path for cyclists, and you build a dog park for citizens that have pets as a way to get out and get about and socialize. And I know one of the comments we had from the folks from Austin that helped us with the parks plan, they joked about how many marriages started at the dog park in Austin. And so I've been to the one over in Abilene, and it's great. It's a lot of fun. You get to visit with other folks, and I think it would be a real asset to the community and also to the Coliseum.
How tall is the fence? Is it a chain link fence, or what kind of fencing? And
Yes,
how
sir. It
tall?
would be is it a 6 foot we're looking at?
Powder coated, that's kind of what we have.
A what?
A powder coated chain link fence. And it'll look a lot like Abilene, what they have, their perimeter fence. And San Angelo just has one as well. They've got a new park over there that they did a private partnership with the city as well. And so they funded it through private and a little bit of in-house with the city.
So is it a tall fence,
4
where the
foot, 6
dogs
foot?
can't jump
6
out?
foot.
Can dogs jump 6 feet?
Some can,
Some
you
can.
betcha.
Mine could.
Some can climb it.
But they're gonna be distracted, you know, they're gonna be other dogs that, you know, they've gotta go over and sniff, and then you can throw the tennis ball and they can run
Socializing.
So the fence in between the two, the smaller one, the larger one, that'll be chain link as well?
Yes, sir. And then you'll have a dual entry, which is required at the front.
Russell, is there any concern about taking out the parking for the soccer fields?
No, sir, because we're allowing, as you can kind of see on the top of the map there towards the north, we're still allowing that parking there. We're not taking any of that in, so that should give them enough for the high school baseball field where they park over there, as well as the soccer parents and players. They still have quite a bit of an area right there in front of the soccer field that they park, and on the side off of Con Street as well. So we feel there's adequate for that. And we're gonna have off-street parking as well for the dog park.
Thanks, sir.
Mayor, that's all I had.
Okay. We'll move to item 10, public input. Okay. We'll go back to item 9, which is discuss, consider, and act upon Articles 4A, 4B, and 5 of the Sweetwater City Charter for revision.
We're getting Mr. Santee online right now, so if y'all can just give us a few minutes on that.
Who submitted the winning design? Can we ask?
Lisa?
Okay.
Who?
Is that an adult or a student or?
Christie, unless you just want to stay for this, you're more than welcome to. Oh, okay. 'Cause this is good. What's that?
Thank you.
Some manufacturers say they attract less crickets, but Encore does not have proof that they attract less crickets, so we're not gonna follow that sort.
We only have the session, and then, so we couldn't go any past that. Which is